was your first relationship with the same gender?
My first relationship was at 18. This guy, I had like a lot of different experiences.
You need to share some. Go ahead and share some. Share what you feel comfortable with. What first comes to mind?
Okay, I guess this is very like, I feel like it's a crucial topic in the community, but the grooming that like older men do to younger gay boys, I feel like it's something that needs to be talked about a lot. And I say that because I also went through it, and at the time, I didn't think that it was a bad thing. I thought it was like, oh yeah, I was like 15 dating somebody that was like 20. And I feel like a lot of girls need to talk about that, and like a lot of gay boys need to talk about that, because it happens a lot in the community sometimes.
Those of us who do have legit dad issues and stuff like that. Yeah, it happened because I've dated and messed with somebody way older than me too. So I mean, I know exactly what you're talking about. I wasn't necessarily like for real legit, like felt like I was in a relationship. Like it was probably more like physical and like friends with benefits type, more or less, not like boyfriends. But no, that's a real thing, because people dating people in college and stuff like that shit don't make sense. Like this because I've been to college, and once I got to college, I barely was trying to be with a freshman, let alone somebody from high school. Like it's two totally different worlds. So that don't even make sense. So there is something that's not clicking. It's clicking, but it's clicking down. So was that your first relationship, the one with the older guy?
No, my first real relationship was when I was 18. I was dating this dude. We went to school together, actually, like high school, and I never really paid him any attention. When I was in high school, I was a mess. I was messy, but I had a good time though. But he never spoke out to me. He had hit me up on this, the app Growler back when it first came out. And he was like, I always thought you were like so fucking beautiful, wooty wooty woo. I wish I would have spoken to you in high school. And then we just kind of started dating after that. And it ended up sour. Like we ended up on a really bad note, because he just, at the moment, I had realized that I didn't want to be like in a relationship, and he just wasn't giving me what I wanted. Like he was too soft for me. And I'm not saying that you gotta be like hard and rough and tough, but he was too soft. He wanted me to cater too much to him. He was too needy. So I ended up cheating on him, and he ended up finding out, and we ended it on a bad note like that, which really sucked. But hey, it is what it is. But I'm not a cheater. He just was I guess in that point in my immature mind, I didn't know how to approach that type of thing. So that was the only thing I knew how to do.
Yeah, when you know better, you do better, they say. So most times. From that relationship on, what was your next most poignant or most impactful relationship after that?
My first love. So like from 18 probably up to like about 20, I was just out here doing my thing. I was out here enjoying myself. I was out here tasting a rainbow. I was sleeping with a lot of different men. I was really exploring myself and what I liked and how I wanted things in the bedroom type shit. And then I ended up meeting my first love, and we met on Jack'd. And I just remember he like hit me up, and he was just like, you were like so gorgeous, wooty wooty woo, and we just started talking from there. He was kind of very like kind of mysterious when we first started talking, but everything had lightened up. I remember when we got together for the first time, it was Valentine's Day, and I was feeling so sad because I was like, I didn't have a Valentine's, and holidays were always really rough growing up because...
Not Valentine's.
Yeah, it was Valentine's Day. I remember it.
You keep saying Valentine.
I'm going to say B-Day. Shit.
It's so funny. It's so cute.
And then I remember he was like, I was at Steak and Shake because I was like, I'm going to take myself out, for the holiday type thing. I was gonna cater to myself, and then he was like, "Do you want to come over?" Wooty woo. So I knew what he wanted. He wanted some of this good coochie. So I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna go over there. And I told myself, I was like, I'm not gonna like spend the night or nothing. I'm just gonna go over there. I'm gonna hunch on this man and I'm gonna leave. And then, so we got over there, and it was just so nice because like we had like a real genuine ass conversation. Like the energy was just so right. And then we ended up having sex. And then, as I was trying to get up to leave, he was like, "I don't want you to leave." He was like, "I want you to stay. Like I just love being around you." And I remember I was like, "Oh, thank you," like, but I gotta kind of go or whatever, trying to make my motherfucking grand escape. And he had pulled me back into the bed, and he was like, "No, I'm serious. I don't want you to leave." So after that, it was just like it was an amazing experience. It lasted for a long time. It lasted for like a good 4 or 5 years, and it just was nice. We still like me and him are still really good friends. When I went back home, I saw him, and we had conversations. He's in a relationship now, so I'm really happy for him. But it was a great time because he came right in the midst of a storm for me. Like I was going through so much hell and just hot water. Is it high water?
Yeah, high
Is it hell and high water?
Yeah.
Okay, so I was going through so much hell and high water. I was dealing with homelessness. I was dealing with trying to go to school. Like I was really trying to build my career as a chef, and it was so hard because school was hard because I would have to get up early in the morning to go to school, and then after like my classes, I would go to work and be at work all day long, and it was even more harder because the person that I was working for, he didn't really want me to move up or advance in my career or into my abilities. And it just was fucking hard. It was so hard. But he came through at the perfect time. He came through right before another like suicide attempt. We kicked it off, and after our first meeting, I didn't want to do it. And then like the more that I went over there, the more that we hung out, the more that we connected, it was less and less. And then I remember I had the pills. And like we have to cross a bridge because we have to cross the Mississippi River to get into St. Louis. And I remember taking those pills and kind of just chucking them out the window on the highway into the river. So it just felt like he was a blessing. He was a blessing.
That's wonderful. And I just want to tell you, I am so thankful that I have the pleasure and the privilege to talk to you today.
Yes, thank you.
And the conversations that we have and have had. So just keep that under your hat. You got people. People out here love you, and people really fuck with you. I know at the time it probably didn't feel like that. I know you was going through it, but people fuck with you for real. Like the people really love you, boy. So yeah, I'm glad to still be talking to you. So yeah, I mean, what's your first relationship? Who initiated it?
I wouldn't say either of us initiated. I mean, okay, so we all had the same group of friends. Like when me and my best friend Tanisha, like we moved to another town, which is still within our county. And that's when we started going to South Grandma. We went there at the same time, and everybody used to think we were sisters, my best friends. So they were like, "Oh, who them fine sisters?" So of course, all the dudes was on us, and I'm like, I ain't with the dude train no more. So all the dudes was like, "Oh, she bi," like they was trying to get with me, and I'm like, like no, that's not that type of party. I ain't even looking on that side no more. So. We had our friends, and I would start hanging with people. And the first question when people meet you at the beginning of the school year, they see you got swag. They're like, "Oh, you like girls?" Because there was a lot of girls at my school that like girls. So I remember one of my friends, we was in homeroom together. I had a crush on her, but at the time she didn't like girls, so we was just really tight. And so she had a friend that always used to come around when we used to be walking the classes together. And she was just like, I think Shantae like you. And I was like, no, she don't. But every time we got ready to switch classes and she would come up and we started talking, she would like punch my arm. And she like, "Hey." And I'd be like, "Hey." So she just kept doing little things like little subtle hints and stuff. And I was like flirting with her back. And then one day she asked me, did I have a girlfriend? I was like, no. And then she gave me her number. And then we just started talking from then. And the rest was history.
Okay. And what age was that?
16.
You did a lot at 16, honey.
I know.
Like a lot.
I know. I feel like that was my year of becoming. Like, I feel like between the age of 15 and 16, I guess that's when for women, they say you mature faster than men. Mm-hmm. I feel like that was like the year I was like, bitch, get your shit together. It's time to come out the closet. Anybody who ain't feeling your situation, dead it.
So you weren't always, like, when you first started dating, you weren't always like a stud. You was femme at first. Mm-hmm. Okay. So tell me about that.
I guess being a femme is just I was still living at home. I couldn't buy my own clothes per se. I had a job, but I just was doing what was regular to me, so I thought. But as I progressed during my journey, I'm like, okay, I don't gotta wear this no more. I don't want to wear these clothes anymore. So for me, I guess my whole stigma was around not so much other people, but how I showed up in the workplace. That's what took me so long to transition into what I felt like.
And why is that?
Because you get a lot of scrutiny. Well, before, we didn't have all these laws, all these things to protect us because you're a lesbian. When you go in the interview, they look like, oh, shit, we ain't about to hire her. It's going to be chaos. So, they have these stipulations. But now they have all these laws in place where you can't really discriminate. And like the job that I've been with for the last 7 years, once I landed that job, that's when I started to like come out more because I felt comfortable. Like my job is all about equality. It's all about like, no matter what you look like, it's a safe space.
When it comes to dating, do you feel like it's a misconception that lesbians go after straight women? Because that's something that I hear all the time. And when I think about it, I kind of feel like I see it, but I don't know if that's just because it's kind of implanted in my head.
I think most studs, they think it's like a badge of honor. For me, I think it's mostly the young studs. Because as you get older, you realize that ain't no prize. I mean, granted, it is cool to flip a woman, but at the end of the day, personally, I don't go after straight women. Most straight women has came on to me. Like, the few straight women that I've dated, they approached me first. Like, I don't want a straight woman personally. I want somebody with some experience. I don't want nobody I have to teach. And I definitely don't want a pillow princess. Not at 30. No.
What is a pillow princess?
A pillow princess is somebody who just lays on a pillow and doesn't participate. Like, they are literally a princess. They don't want to get their hands dirty. They don't want to do anything. They soaking up all the action. Like, for me, that's not my thing. And it is your thing, mostly to the touch me nots. So what
is a touch me not?
The touch me nots are studs who don't want to have nothing done to them at all.
Okay. So
that will work for them because then their person can soak up everything. But for me, you gonna touch this. I'm sorry. And if you ain't, you got to go on now. No. I don't want a pillow princess, and I don't find it like all as flattering as it's cracked up to be to go with a straight woman. Even though I go with one now, put it out there. She was straight. Mm-hmm. The first 35 years of her life, but I've been with her 6 years off her own. Mm-hmm. So after I dated her, we for a while. Made it known I'm not with another straight. Like you want somebody for me that got some type of experience with women. If not, you're gonna go through a lot of teaching and a lot of growing and a lot of getting used to for them because it's new for them. But if you really love somebody, it don't matter and it'll work.
So for your current relationship, that's not you didn't. She came after you.
Yeah, she came after me, and she'll tell you, like, she was my trainer at work. And, she would do little sort of things like call me out, like me and my person that I sat beside, like was the top performers in our class. So a lot of times she spent time going over things again. And so it appeared as I wasn't paying attention. So she would call me in front of her class and say, Diamond, get up here and show them how to do X, Y, and Z. And then I get up there and I'd be like, okay, next. So she would do little things like flirt with me. But I was like, okay, this girl got a kid. And she's straight? No. And she's 12 years older than me. No. No. So at the time, I was in a relationship. So, you know, I felt a little flirtation. But she traveled for work. So it kind of died off because I didn't see her as much. And then about 2 years later, we bumped into each other in the elevator. And I was like, I ain't see you around. You don't mess with me no more. And she was like, yes, I do. I just been traveling for work. So, like, from that day on, she would come to my desk and, like, knock on my window and wave at me. And I was like, damn, my friends might have been right. These might really like me. So, one day we was ironing back and forth at work. And Lord, I tell her this now, she's so corny. It was at work. She was like, oh, do you want to continue this conversation? I got to leave. My housekeeper broke my vacuum. Do you want my number? And I was like, sure. So that's how we began talking outside of work. But it was kind of like serendipity because after that, I went somewhere where I would have never expected to see her outside of work. I went to this restaurant with my homeboy to let him know, like, look, I'm single. It's this girl that I'm feeling at work, to tell him about her. And then when I pull up, I see her car.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, your windows down. Are you at such and such restaurant? It's raining and your windows are down. And she was like, what? Yes, I'm here. So as I'm texting her, I see her when I walk in the restaurant with another one of my coworkers. So she there with her coworker friend. I'm there with my coworker friend. And they're like, come over. And I'm like, oh, it was just her. So we walk over. Her and her friend was in, you know, real nice or whatever. We had drinks, shots, food. It was a real good experience. So I catch her in the bathroom. She washing her hands. I'm washing my hands. So I'm go blow dry my hands. And she touches my hand. And I'm like, damn, you got some soft skin or whatever. So we walk out the bathroom, leave the restaurant. We text, and I was like, I was going to kiss you, but I thought you was scared. And she was like, nah, I'm not scared. Send me the Addy. No, I was like, I was going to kiss you, but I thought you would be scared. She was like, why would I be scared? You was scared. I was like, no, I'm not. Send me the Addy. So I pull up on her. Lo and behold, she lives 4 minutes from my house. And I didn't know this the whole time. So I pull up, knock on the door, give her a kiss, smack her on the butt, and then just leave. So that's how it all began.
So you in a relationship now and been in a relationship for 9 years. Tell me about how that started. Tell me about when y'all met.
So him and I met. He met me in that very DL discreet age. When I met him, I was 20, and we met on Twitter because even though I was gay in the closet, the first steps of me coming out was admitting that I like Beyonce. And I became a super fan, and like we both came across like this same tweet or whatnot about Beyonce, and he jumped in my inbox. And I thought he was a girl. I ain't gonna lie, I thought he was a girl at first, and at that time I was still entertaining, a little bit. So he jumped in. I thought he was a girl, and he definitely wasn't. He had these real pretty eyes, and it was just like a picture of just his eyes, so it looked like a doggone girl. We met on Twitter in 2010, 2011, and we had like a virtual friendship. Like we was friends at first. Like we just became friends. I had never really met a friend like on like a talkative, like a dating wise in North Carolina before. I had my best friend who was from North Carolina, but I had never really met nobody like I was talking to or whatnot. So we talked, we kicked it, we chopped it up for like probably about a year. Then we lost contact all of like 2011, and then we started back talking in 2012, and then 2013 is when we was like, all right, nigga, we've been playing cat and mouse for like 2-3 years. What you want, and we like came to a decision that all right, we just gonna go together. We gonna be together, and we done been together ever since. I left Florida like maybe 4 months after we decided because my job at the time, I was able to transfer up here, got an apartment, started out pretty good. And before you know it, we had a decade. Like, time has truly been flying by, but I couldn't have found like a greater partner. Like, that's one thing. Like, he accepted me when I was in the closet. He's known me since then. Like, he's been patient with me because of my upbringing. Like, he was one of the ones, even though he's from North Carolina, his family kind of like, they accepted him like from the gate. So he was able to kind of like help me with understanding, it's really going to be okay. Type things, he got certain family that may not talk to him as much because of him being that way or whatnot, but he's okay. And yeah, so he really played a whole big part in me, like really accepting who I am. I'm not going to change, because I used to tell him like, we can talk for a little while, but eventually I think I'm going to go back to a woman and I'm going to get married and I'm going to do it the right way. Like, I've said that for years with him, and he's just be like, okay, you ain't going nowhere. And child, I'm still here.
He got you.
I'm just in there too.
That's good. That's really dope to hear. That's why I wanted you to tell me about it, because we don't get to hear about, we do what we don't.
Right.
And like this one guy was saying, he was like, every time you get to see people, it always be some type of wonderful, and you are wonderful and y'all are wonderful, of course, but this is real. This is, you are a real person. I could go to a grocery store and run into you. I could go to the mall and run into you. I could run into you online. So like, this is real. This ain't no, not Photoshop, but like, it ain't no play. So that's what I think is really beautiful.
My first real relationship, I think, was during my college years. I was dating a friend. He became like my lover. It was pretty intense too, I thought. But he didn't, in the end of it, he just seemed like it wasn't anything to him. I actually lost a friend and the person that I love. It was really, really, really intense for me.
Why so?
Because I really, really liked him, like loved him. And I don't think that I had a feeling like that for anybody that was a man outside of like my stepfather, excluding the intimacy, of course, or my gay father. So it was just like, and it really hurt me that he actually chose to be with men instead.
Okay, so explain that for me. Because I understand, but I want everybody to be able to understand.
Okay, cool. So when we first started chatting, I was transitioning, so I wasn't completely a woman.
Okay.
Like even down to my appearance, sometimes I would look like a young man. Just during that time period. So when I decided to completely transition, I think for a while it was cool for him because he had been dating women too, but he had also been experimenting and he decided that he wanted to be with a man. Then after the fact, we tried to be friends, but it was still like a relationship for us. To me.
Because y'all were friends.
Because we were friends prior. So it was like really, 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 really bad. And then it confused me. And then I guess I did maybe become delusional. No, I did not become delusional. You told me one thing and you're doing something different. And that was the end of that, I guess, whatever.
What age was that?
That had to be that same summer. It ended that same summer that you and I and Noel were all together. So what age was that? 19, 20, 21?
Yeah. It would have been around that time. Because I wouldn't have been living in Riverwalk. So it would have been, and I turned 21 in Riverwalk, so it would have been 1920.
Okay, so I was 20.
Yeah.
And, I felt a deep hurt about that for a long time. It just made me kind of shut off to everybody else emotionally, like when it comes to a man. And I have really never been honest about that, but I think I just never I was really hurt.
So it still affects you to this day?
am I going to say it still affects me to this day? Till this day, no. But what I will say is I think about how I felt during that time period. Okay. During that pain, that moment of pain, because it lasted a moment for me. I don't know if you knew it or not, but I was sad. Like,
no, I didn't know it, but I will say I didn't know it because maybe I wasn't observing it like that because we were having such a good time. Also, we have a tendency to have a dark sense of humor. So with us having both dark, it'd be like we're just joking. So close the shutters, all of them. That type of situation would have been what I would have attributed it to.
Oh, that's when I was really heavy into that movie at that time.
Yeah, that's what I said. Close the shutters.
Close the shutters. All of them.
Currently dating. Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
Who initiated that?
Initiated this one? I think I did. I think I initiated this one. I was on Grella Live, and we was talking, and there was a lot of people at me or whatever, and
so you met at Gay Fat Church, basically.
Yeah. So, and like at 20, all you want to know is who got the best or who got the biggest. That's pretty much what you want to know when you want to act like that. But for me, it was like trying to weed through who wanted more than just that. And it was one night I couldn't go to sleep, and he was like, "I'll talk to you till you go to sleep." So I thought that was dope. Valentine's Day came, and he sent me a teddy bear and some balloons, and he was like, "I could not let you go Valentine's Day without having a Valentine." I was like, "What?" I was like, "This is I like this," So I booked a ticket. I went over there for my birthday, and we spent 2 weeks together. Realized that we liked each other, and I'll be going back in February.
How long had y'all been talking?
We have been talking about 6 months before I got on the plane. So this by the time I get November will be a year that we've been talking or whatever. So, but it's been like after Valentine's Day, like he stayed up with me for New Year's to watch the ball drop. And it was like he was just doing a lot of dope, you know what I'm saying? So it was like, okay, cool. And then when I got there, he had like, I don't know if you've seen
where is there?
At Dubai.
You're skirting around the issue, but go ahead.
And he lives in Dubai.
Okay.
So I don't know if you've seen the pictures that I posted or anything like that, but he just made it to where it was the best birthday I ever had in my life. Like, ever. I told him what I wanted to do. He made sure that everything got done. He had set up like different hotels, and each hotel had a different birthday cake with a different theme. And then he bought me a gift or gifts, and I was just overwhelmed. I think I cried the whole entire time I was there.
Really?
Like, I'll send you the video. Like, cry. So when I went to Dubai and I realized what he does for a living, it just was like, holy like, he's a doctor. So he's been helping me, with my blood pressure and diabetes and all of that. So he tells me what to ask the doctor here or what to do at home and stuff like that. And, so I try to listen to him as much as possible, So I got my sugar under control. We definitely got to clap it up for that.
Yeah.
So I got that done, thanks to him. So I don't want to put like I don't want to put a jinx on him or anything, but you know, he's amazing. You know what I mean? I like him a lot. The distance is a little shaky, you know. But
how do you navigate? Because y'all, that's pretty far.
It's extremely far. It's a 16-hour flight. So the thing that we said we were so my ticket there is only $800 and something, right? Mm-hmm. So that's a round trip ticket. So it's like I would go to Dubai once a year. He would come here once a year. We would meet up somewhere twice a year.
Okay.
So, you know what I'm saying? So this way, and we can just do that until, like, he wants to move to the United States and open up a medical practice here. But he's never been to the United States. So I'm like, you got to come here first before you decide that you want to move here, because it's a big culture shock. You know what I'm saying? Like racism, you got to worry about people just getting shot just because they go down the street. You know what I mean? I'm like, there's just things that, you know, you got to think about. But in Dubai, you can't be gay. Well, you could be gay, but you can't
be out.
You can't be gay. You know what I mean? Like, but we went to a hotel that was gay. Like, they had gay. Like when we went into it, it's a W. They had gay stuff on the like Pride, everything on the TVs and stuff when we went in there.
That one drop, that one place.
It's like the one safe place there. You know what I'm saying? And then at night it lights up in a rainbow. So
yeah, they was like, that's the one place you stay away from that place. So how do you navigate sex?
Huh?
How do you navigate sex with that? With y'all being so far?
It's difficult. Well, at 41, I'm not as focused on that part anymore. You know, before it used to be, I don't want to be in this relationship, the sex is whack, or oh, it's not enough sex. I want to. So, but now I'm just like, you know what I mean? Like, I could and be good. You know what I mean? Like, don't get me wrong. There are times where you know what I'm saying. You wanna, but I live in Alabama now, so it's not as easy to just do here as it was in Atlanta or in New York. You know, so you know you just go through dry stuff and just be like, shit. Like, I just be like, I hope you're ready when I get there. I hope you're ready when I get there. It is going down.
Promiscuity, like, even growing up for me, like, even as an adult, was like something that was still like frowned upon. Like, I went to church and like they publicly shamed women for getting pregnant out of wedlock. Like, they were still doing that. Like when I was in my 20s, and I'm like, she have sex like the rest of y'all. She just have a baby. Like, instead of like welcoming this blessing into the world, like you want her to get up here and stand and apologize to the church. She didn't do shit, y'all. She was just like the rest of y'all like you're doing. Y'all just ain't got caught, right? And so promiscuity like really had a negative connotation with me. Like like I said, I didn't have sex until I was 23, and even after that, I didn't have a lot of sexual partners because like I just didn't know a lot about sex, and I was scared to do it, and so I literally only had sex like, especially early on, with like men I was in relationships with. So like my first boyfriend, my second boyfriend who was like out, was the first out man that I had ever dated. That was tumultuous because like I didn't know a lot about relationships. I didn't know a lot about sex. And so like we had a great time, but like outside of him, like those two men, like those are the only sexual experiences, encounters that I had with men. And so like being able to like reclaim like my sexuality as an adult was like really hard for me because I was still tied to like so many old ideas, especially with like HIV and AIDS pandemic, like how like it impacted like a lot of Black queer lives, but like also like the stigmas of like growing up in a state like Mississippi and like how they treated people with HIV. I will never forget the day that that I tested positive for HIV. And so it was one of those things where like I was nonchalant about it. Like it was one of those things like, well, I know I ain't had a lot of sex with a bunch of people. Like I done had like 3 sexual partners in my life, and I've been in relationships. I've been monogamous and all this kind of stuff. And I go to the clinic and I'm like, oh, I gotta go get some eggs and some milk and go to the grocery store. Then I'm gonna get an HIV test, and then I'm gonna go to my mama's house and drop some stuff off. And it was like that changed the trajectory of my life forever at this point. It was like, what the am I doing? And so I had to reshape my own thinking around like what promiscuity actually was, and like what sexual identity actually was, and like what owning your own sexuality and your body was about, like having agency over that, because those things don't always overlap, right? And so having to figure that part out, like after being diagnosed and like after like going through the turmoil of like, you know, telling people and telling your family and all that. And so what that felt like for me, I only came out to like my parents and like my close friends, right? And it was one of those things like people who had been around my life, who had been in my life, and people who like I had chosen to be connected to, because as big as my family is, I'm not connected to a lot of people in my family because of the relationships that I've built or the relationships that they built with me. And so it was a second coming out because I had to really understand the impact of what was happening to me, the impact of the stigmas that would be placed on me, and how this would impact the people around me that I was connected to. So people had heard all these horror stories about being HIV positive and like what it meant and like what would happen to you and like where your life was going and all this. And I had to reassure myself and find like beauty in a lot of stuff that I had not found before, like actually living life, but also like try to educate people around me about like what the disease was and like what the virus was and like how it would impact me, and like how to educate myself about like making sure that I am, you know, taking my meds and like making sure that I'm staying healthy. And like it was harder in that instance than coming out for me, because I lost a lot of people because of stigmas around HIV. Like I was literally working at this organization during the summer called Mississippi AIDS and Action Research, and when I found out I was HIV positive, and so finding out what the organization did and like how they were lobbying with Congress and like the government around like stipulations, like finding about criminalization laws around people with HIV and like disclosure, like all of these things I had to learn. And in turn, like I lost a lot of people, but I gained like real connections and real family. So like I have a chosen family. I have chosen people in my life who understand and like have educated themselves about the virus. But I didn't have that initially, and it was really, really hard. And like I couldn't even get adequate healthcare in Mississippi. Once my because I was still working as a teacher, and once my job found out I was HIV positive, and you know, you renew your insurance everywhere, they was like, we can't insure you, this is a pre-existing condition. So like I was having to go to like free clinics to like get care and like all of this, like all of my vaccines, and I couldn't get infectious disease specialists through my insurance because it was considered a pre-existing condition. And so that was the thing that like sparked my move out of Mississippi and like all the things that happened after that. But it was hella lonely, and I had to like literally like rebuild myself to a place where I could be comfortable being me again without feeling like I was damaged or like feeling like I was basically like eventually just gonna die and nobody would ever remember me. And so it's been 11 years now at this point, and you know, I'm just as healthy as I was 11 years ago, and still fat and still happy and all those things.